Shutterstock from the right. Dems are now all turning on Hillary. No longer do Democrats consider Hillary Clinton a spiritual figure, a person with a mystical presence, says David French at National Review. Thanks to former Democratic National Committee Chair Donna Brazil's revelations, it's now clear that the primal scream of millions of Bernie brothers was true. The system was rigged in her favor. And many more Democrats are starting to say so. That's actually a healthy development, says French, reflecting a party that's starting to look at its own flaws rather than simply decrying the moral defects of a nation that would elect Donald Trump. But Democrats still need to take off the rose-colored glasses and acknowledge that their machinery was rigged to foist a fundamentally corrupt, arrogant and incompetent politician on the American body politic. Policy wonk using traffic to prevent urban terror. In the wake of Tuesday's terrorist attack, crash barriers have been going up all over Manhattan, with more to come, reports Nicole Jalinas at City Journal. And these incremental efforts to secure the streets work. In addition, to lessen the chances of a vehicle attack on lines outside Broadway theaters, where security checks are now mandatory, the NYPD has quietly begun shutting down some theater streets just before shows. In fact, she argues, New York needs more such measures, and needs to deploy them in a systemic, rational manner. Moreover, on some of Midtown's most crowded blocks, particularly around Rockefeller Center, Bryant Park and Times Square, the city should shut down traffic altogether, with entrance only for delivery drivers who pass a checkpoint and for cab drivers transporting the handicapped or elderly. Security desk. The truth about Iran and Al-Qaeda. President Trump's critics came out swinging last month when he said Iran and Al-Qaeda were partners, accusing him of stretching the evidence. But as Bloomberg's Eli Lake notes, it turns out Trump was closer to the mark than his detractors, as we learned from the hundreds of thousands of documents captured from Osama bin Laden's hideout and finally released this week. Actually, it's understandable why the critics scoffed. Earlier releases of the bin Laden files under the Obama administration emphasized the Iran-Al-Qaeda rivalry, while documents that showed cooperation remained classified. Which is why declassifying them was a priority for the new president's team. Turns out the relationship was more nuanced. Al-Qaeda and Iran were not exactly allies. But they were not enemies, either. From the left, Islamic extremism continues to spread. The Washington Post's Fareed Zakaria, reporting from Singapore, quotes that nation's home minister as saying the New York attack should remind us all that while ISIS is being defeated militarily, the ideological threat from radical Islam is spreading, and the trend line is moving in the wrong direction. Moreover, while the military struggle against Islamist extremists has always favored the US and its allies, the ideological struggle has proved far more intractable. Its new breeding grounds are once moderate Muslim societies in Central, South and Southeast Asia, such as Singapore, Indonesia and Bangladesh, fueled by exported money and ideology from the Middle East, chiefly Saudi Arabia. So if Riyadh truly begins religious reform at home, it would be a far larger victory against radical Islam than all the advances on the battlefield. Culture critic. Are cemeteries dying out in an era of globalization? People tend to be more mobile and families often live far apart, making it difficult to tend to a family gravesite, reports Connie Paul at USA Today. That's why people increasingly favor cremation over traditional burial. Some have ecological concerns, opting for urns made of materials that easily decompose, such as felt or wood. This is especially true in Europe, where a funeral official predicts 1 in 3 cemeteries in Germany won't continue to exist in their present form 5 to 10 years from now. Some see them as sites for protected environments and public parks. So while cemeteries may be eternal resting places, the places themselves are evolving. Compiled by Eric Fettman.